Patrick, will this also be recorded and live streamed or just live streamed?
Both.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, should be good to go.
Thanks, Patrick. I
Uh,
appreciate it.
no problem. And I made you host again, so I'm gonna leave the meeting now.
Okay. Hey, thanks. Have a great day. Great week, Patrick. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, you guys too. Thank you.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. All right, Alyssa, we are live and in effect, and I will admit the participants here in the next few minutes.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Put it in their name. we usually do
And
it.
just do the emergency affidavit, even copy my emergency affidavit but in their name. But they were like 2 weeks tops for that. But it's following the water rights
Okay.
is all they care about.
But they're not gonna transfer the water, it's still ready to the system.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. It's 10 o'clock on Monday in the docket number 25-00054 in the matter of Melody Ranch Water Company, LLC's water system breakdown and disruption of service. This is part of our ongoing weekly status hearings. I will also say, just for everybody's situational awareness, that we have decided to record and live stream these hearings for the public. We can discuss that in a little bit more detail shortly. I think we should go ahead and get updates. Firstly, I just would like to ask Mr. Bagatko if we're expecting any more members of staff to join.
I don't believe so. I am joined by Miss Gabriella Dashno here in my office.
Okay. Hi, Ms. Dashno. How are you?
Good.
Good to see you. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started? Mr. Domenici, Ms. Padilla, would you like to share your updates with us?
Yeah, I think first we'd like to talk about the water supply and how that's working, and then second about public meeting, and third, we have some update from the state engineer on
Okay.
transferability of that permit.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
I'll let Ms. Padilla talk about the water volumes.
So after talking to my the worker out there that checks the tank daily and turns it on and off, with the going from what is it called, gravity pushed, then we switched back to the pump pushing it out, and that's where we have to maintain over half a tank full to really get a good push through the pump. So when we switched over, it took us a minute to maintain, but the tank is keeping it about 3/4 full. And then we turn on and it takes it down to about half the tank. And so then we have been keeping off. And on Thursday, there was an update and it laid out how many hours per day we're on, and we forced the water through. And that was each week it changes. So talking to my guy this morning, he's saying that because of that, he's going to give 4 hours per day each day, because it's about keeping it. We can get it to 3/4 and then it drains it to about half. And then when we turn it off, we can build it back up to 3/4. And so at that, we think this week we can for sure do that schedule, about 4 hours per day with the full pressure. So that's the newest update on that, the tank and the water situation in the tank.
Okay, go ahead. I'll just take notes here and then we can discuss in more detail after you share your updates.
Okay, then the other thing on the water, all the meters are read at the end of the month. So around September 31st, October 1st, we will have the meter readings, and we'll see what the demand was for September. We think some of the demand has been reduced because of seasonality, which we usually expect, but we also think perhaps some of the larger users may have reduced, but we will be able to confirm that, probably not by our meeting next week, but by the meeting following that, because we will have readings from all the users. And we will be able to compare that to production from the well and really see what percentage of production we're at. And if it looks like we're going to actually be able to increase the hours or have more availability of water as the demand goes down. But the supply has been steady. It's just kind of like we described at the last meetings. It's reduced from what it previously was. On the state engineer issue, the question came up is if the system is taken over by a third party and one of their objectives is to drill a new well, what approvals will they need from the state engineer's office? And we have confirmation that the state engineer would expect a new application. It would be modeled after the application that Melody Ranch has that has an emergency authorization on it. The new application could also qualify for an emergency authorization. The turnaround on that is about 2 weeks. So what the state engineer is contemplating is that the water rights themselves would be transferred. And then the new owner at that point, that transfers it does not take any time. That's a standard form. Then the new owner would be able to file an app would be required and would be able to file an application very similar to what Melody Ranch did, with a turnaround time expected to be a couple of weeks to get authorization to drill that replacement well. So that's some additional information from the state engineer on how that side of this would work. I think the last issue is we've had some communications from the PRC about two things. One, about them placing information on their website, but second, probably more important, about holding a public meeting. They proposed 2 dates. One was today and one is Wednesday. Tracy was sick this weekend. We just got that proposal on Friday, or maybe Thursday, but today wasn't workable. We notified them that Wednesday would work.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, Mr. Domenici. I told you I have an allergy to pronouns, so I don't know who they are.
This would be Jackie Ortiz at the PRC.
Okay,
We notified her that it's Wednesday morning that she has proposed. We notified her that would be available. So we're hoping
this Wednesday, 2 days from now. Okay.
And we're hoping to tie that up either on this call or after this call. They asked us, in terms of accomplishing notice, if we have an email list. They may not have been aware from our previous hearings. We do not have an email list or a text message process. We think we could get pretty good notice for a Wednesday meeting. We would put it on our voicemail. We would have our operator call people. We have a short email list that we would send that information to, and we could do flyers. And if we think that notice won't be effective by Wednesday, we could look at a date like Thursday or Friday. But we are ready to participate this week in that type of it was basically a video meeting that was proposed.
Okay.
There has not been any engineering evaluation on site that we're aware of. We're ready and willing and able to accommodate engineers who want to do that, but that hasn't occurred.
Mm.
So that's pretty much our update.
And when you say no engineering on site, that's with respect to what issue or what development?
There was discussion last time that there would be a technical memorandum our understanding was EMWT was going to hold a board meeting. They were going to get a proposal for engineering services to prepare a technical memorandum, which would include an evaluation of our system.
Okay.
And that would require us, coordinating with the engineer to come on site. We'd have our water operator available, and we'd make any records or physical access available in any way to assist that technical memorandum from being completed.
Okay, great. And you're just alerting that there's been no follow-up or further updates on that issue. Do I understand correctly?
Yes. No,
Okay.
yes.
Great. I'll just say also, for the benefit of everybody on here, I'm very much a student of your updates, so please don't take anything for granted. It's really important to, even if it takes us a little bit more time to explain the background of each update that we're providing and who's involved. There's a lot of moving parts here and a lot of individuals, state agencies, entities involved. So the more that we can educate each other and teach each other. I think that will be very, very valuable. And that's a principle that I'll discuss in a minute with respect to notice. But yeah, please, Mr. Domenici, don't ever think for a moment that I'm able to know what we're talking about, or anyone else on the call. So I'll just ask for that from the parties. Mr. Begacco, would you like to share your updates?
My updates, well, inclusive of what we talked about in terms of provisioning the NMPRC website for postings from Melody Ranch and otherwise that would inform the public of this case, and
Mhm.
the prospect for a public hearing. The only other thing I have to report on at this point is that NMED is engaged directly with EMWT through Mr. Bobby Ortiz, and they are working through the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund pre-application process with an aspirational goal to have something ready to go for a November 1st deadline, which would get it on the list for December for consideration by the NMFA.
Okay.
And then to touch on the issue regarding the technical memo. The technical memo, I understand from past conversations and recent communications, is going to be a necessary and material part to this DWSRF application process. NMED already indicated that a full-blown engineering report wouldn't be necessary. They believe that a technical memo would suffice. So I think as part of the active engagement between NMED and EMWT, currently I would expect and understand that the prospect for the technical memo and whatever on-the-ground analysis is required to inform that memo will be part and parcel to that current engagement. I will, of course, circle back and confirm with them, but that's my understanding of what's going on right now since last week in terms of getting information out there, having a public meeting, and then going to work on the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund application process. In the interim, I've gotten more communications from people who live out there, one of which came in this morning, I believe, and
Yes.
no, it was Sunday.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just what I expected, unfortunately, and I don't feel that the temperature on that front is going to be falling at any point here in the future, but it is encouraging to hear that there is limited improvement in terms of the conditions of water availability, including some part-time pressurization. So I think we have a meeting here pretty soon on Wednesday or later in the week, depending on how this falls out, that these things can be communicated to people, and then people can also be made aware or reacquainted with the fact that there will be an information portal on the website. In the meantime, I'll continue to take emails, text messages, phone calls, and do my best to keep everybody's eye on the ball and hopefully to keep calmer heads prevailing over the alternative. So that's all I have for now. And of course, I'll maybe have some more to inform you with in our Thursday file.
Okay, great. Thank you. So just a follow-up question here, Mr. Begacco, for clarification. The EMWT is proceeding with an application to the state revolving fund, the Drinking Water Revolving Fund, in order to facilitate the purchase of Melody Ranch utility. Is this correct?
I believe, I don't know that it would be a purchase. I think it would be to fund the infrastructure improvements. I don't recall that a purchase is contemplated. It was my understanding that it would be an abandonment and transfer, essentially, from our perspective, regulatory wise, from the utility into the hands of EMWT when appropriate. But the
Okay.
first and foremost and most prominent goal right now is for them to be in a position to restore adequate water service as soon as possible. So these are necessary and unavoidable hurdles to be negotiated by them through this process, and they are working closely with experts at NMED who are well versed in the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund process, and they
right.
are invested in a good outcome as well. So I've talked with both of them. I have high levels of confidence in all of those people, and I stand ready to assist in whatever limited way I can. But they are the experts, so I'm trying to stay out of the way at the same time.
Yes, no, that's fine. I just, again, there's a lot of conversations that are happening with you and your team and with Mr. Domenici and Miss Padilla and Melody Ranch and other entities. So I just want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So that's why I wanted to ask. So the idea for the funding is to extend that pipe that we discussed last Monday and bring Melody Ranch community onto the EMWT service.
I think per my recollection and understanding, the first infrastructure goal from EMWT's perspective, after doing the technical analysis and having a technical memo and satisfying themselves that this is something that they can and should get into, because I think that decision still needs to be crystallized.
Right.
To be fair to them, the first thing would be to drill a new well to restore service. The well would be drilled to a deeper level than the current, I believe, 280-foot level of the well that's limping along. And then in the prospective future, after they've restored service and they've otherwise done whatever else is necessary to bring the system up to snuff, the prospect of tying into the city of Moriarty was indicated by EMWT in our discussions as something that would be desirable, so that there's more than one source of water for the neighborhood. There's a potential backup, and the tie into the existing Moriarty municipal system is something that folds into the water regionalization policy and purpose of EMWT on a wider scale.
Okay, so what's the 3,000-foot pipe that we discussed last time would be between the city of Moriarty and Melody Ranch?
Correct. City of Moriarty infrastructure is closer to Melody Ranch than EPCOR's Edgewood district, which is a few miles west down 40 towards their operation down there. That's a bigger jump to make infrastructure wise and economically speaking. But the closest tie-in to the Moriarty water system is, I've been told, 3,000 feet. So that's much more doable. And I think the economics in terms of what that looks like would probably be much more preferable, because as we discussed earlier last time, EPCOR is a utility, it's a private utility. And so its economic footing is not the same as a political subdivision like EMWT, who stands poised to take advantage of things such as the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. So it's a balance of considerations. And right now, I think what's shaping up with EMWT is could be economically and technically more readily realized than any of the alternatives that have been discussed and considered. But right now, this is the preeminent solution, unless, God forbid, something nasty arises in the engineering analysis or something else happens. I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but they do have to satisfy themselves as a first principle that the engineering picture is something that would allow their involvement. And so like I said earlier, to be fair to them, I don't presume that they're 100% on board with this, because they have their own internal policies and review to undertake. And I believe that that's in process.
Sure.
So lots of moving parts at the same time, but based on what I've been told, and I do trust those people, I have no reason not to. They are working in earnest to see what they've got and to get that pre-application process completed for the DWSRF and to move forward, hopefully. Knock on wood. I want something good to happen, but that's where we are right now.
Okay, great. Sure. And no, I would never take anything, like I said, for granted, or put words in anyone's mouth about one other entity's commitment or another. Okay, so is there any can you give us some more detail about that potential solution for drilling a well, how long that might take, or what the cost might be, or anything related to that?
Well, number one, with the reporting we just heard from Mr. Domenici and Ms. Padilla, regarding the transferability of the authorization that they do have from the state engineer for a new well, they said it could be turned around in 2 weeks.
Right.
So I think I would trust. I don't know if Mr. Domenici and Ms. Padilla have communicated that situation to EMWT, but if they have not, I trust they will shortly, so that EMWT can have this data point to consider in its analysis and its workup,
Right.
figure out how to do that. But as far as how long it would take, I don't know. I would have to ask. I think my first person to go to ask the prospective rough sketch of a turnaround time of drilling a well after you get the authorization, presuming it can be done in 2 weeks, would be Mr. Donzel Worthington, who is the Bohannon Houston engineer that works closely with EMWT. He seems to be very well versed in how these things go on the regulatory side as well as the engineering side.
Right.
That's something I can inquire of and just get a better feel for.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful. Again, not taking any of this for granted. I think I have an echo here, but not having anything or not taking anything for granted, but just again getting some situational awareness, I think will be helpful.
Mr. Hearing Examiner, I have a
Yes.
follow-up question.
Sure,
If
go
that's
ahead.
all right. Thank you. I wanted to ask quickly about the application, the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. So it sounded like if EMWT will be moving forward and working with NMED to file this application by November 1st, there would be a potential decision on that funding by December. Is that correct?
Sometime in December, yes, that's my understanding, and that's when the NMFA board meets to consider and prioritize these kinds of applications under the DWSRF.
Okay. And I guess I'm just wondering would this decision I guess be connected to if EMWT moves forward, there would need to be some sort of transfer/abandonment proceeding. So I'm just wondering if there is this decision to approve in December, is there any sort of cutoff or deadline in which those funds would have to be used by a certain date? Or is that sort of separated from what we're talking about in terms of moving forward, possibly with the transfer/abandonment proceeding?
I don't know if the funds have a fuse on them like that. We could find
Okay.
out. But the
Okay.
other thing to consider is in terms of abandonment and transfer proceedings, I mean, usually the parties that are pertinent to those sorts of proceedings will have already lined out the terms of the transaction, executed paperwork, memorandums of understanding, or whatever it is that they use to memorialize what they're undertaking and seeking approval of from the commission. So my hope then, as with other abandonment and transfer cases in the past then, is that everything's basically a done deal, save for the regulatory approval that allows them to go from basically operating under a CCN to coming into the hands of a mutual domestic or other political subdivisions such as EMWT. And I would think, hopefully, that if we got to that point that, and I would be willing, and I guess I could commit my staff to the same because this is important, to have expedited process for such an abandonment and transfer proceeding. But the first things first, I believe, not to yield any jurisdictional authority on our end, but having the economics and the engineering and basically everything else already a done deal in such an event is highly desirable because of, the time constraints we're on and everything else that's non-negotiable in terms of framing this thing up and bringing it before the commission. Because part of the standards that pertain to abandonment transfers are what net public detriment and net public benefit, and everything's done and it's good to go and the infrastructure and the physical solutions are in place, that becomes a very, very strong case to bring before the commission, such an event. So I'm not going to prejudice what my staff might have to say or not about it, but I'm encouraged when people show up with very fulsome and robust applications that show that basically all the pieces to the puzzle have been solved for, and all we need to do now is go forward in the public interest and restore proper utility water service to this community.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Mr. Bagaco.
No problem.
Okay, so also, Mr. Bagacco, the idea would be that that upon the economic and technical satisfaction, and if everything is ready on the engineering and the technical and the financial side, that there would be an application for abandonment and transfer, and then the well would be drilled, and then the
I think
Melody
pursuant
Ranch
to
would
my
become
understanding,
part
I
of
think-
EMWT.
I think part of the process desirable from our perspective would be that the well would already be drilled, or it would be underway. Because it's sort of, these approvals can be done on a conditional basis too. And given the emergent situation here, I don't think we want to limit ourselves in terms of formality over any flexibility or other positive benefits to be gained by allowing for that level of workability in the case. If it's underway or it's poised to start, I don't think we have to wait until it's done to approve it, because I think this is a very unique and dynamic situation. And so the goal, I think, is to have the service restored as soon as possible. That's not to say that the other things that need to be attended to that are intimate to EMWT and Melody Ranch, and for that matter, NMED, won't be handled. For example, I think EMWT has to satisfy for itself what the right-of-way or easement situation is with respect to any existing infrastructure and new infrastructure that would hopefully include a well-performing well, no pun intended.
Right.
So these are all the sorts of things that are being kinked out, worked out, smoothed out, hopefully, and developed simultaneously or near simultaneously in this effort. But I am open to, I don't want to ever give up any discretion or the ability to thoroughly vet these cases, but my hope also at the same time is that all of these details are attended to, or they are poised to be resolved at the time of filing for abandonment and transfer approval. And that at any rate, restoration of water service to the community has effectively been achieved at that point, or is very close in time. It's got to be imminent, because it's all these things that we can't get around. I wish I could just create a shortcut and instantly restore the water service, but as a practical fact of reality, this is how it works, and the economics are such that we have a process to go through. So
Sure.
I'm waiting with bated breath to see how things go as between NMED and EMWT with that WSRF pre-application process.
Okay. So I guess what I'm just wondering is, the idea here would be that EMWT would, again, in this, what is being visualized, is that EMWT would drill and own the well and then sell water to the Melody Ranch community. Is that correct?
I guess that's a possible way of framing it up. I still don't know the particulars of how this prospective relationship would work in the interim, but I think the overall goal, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Domenici or Ms. Padilla, is for the utility to be transferred to EMWT, and EMWT would own and operate and run that well based off of the water that it has water rights to on that parcel of land. And then EMWT would take it and go boldly into the future and realize its regional water policy in Torrance County.
That's correct. The idea is to transfer the system along with the water rights. And then EMWT would drill a new well using the existing water rights, which are more than sufficient. And they have a model of the application for that new well, because Melody Ranch has already gone down that path. All of that information can be transferred. Melody Ranch also had a bid for the well, had a driller lined up. EMWT is familiar with the same driller, I'm sure, but any of that information that would help EMWT get as prepared as possible in the event of a transfer, it would be made available. But the idea is a complete transfer of all of the infrastructure along with the water rights.
Okay, thank you. So I guess what I'm also trying to communicate here is that it may feel tedious or frustrating to have to repeat a lot of these details at this status hearing, but it is of vital importance as we share these updates with the commission and with the public. Ms. Herrera Waldrop and I are not aware of what is happening in the background in the meantime until we have these status hearings. So, and many others, the commission itself is not really aware. So the better we can frame these possible solutions, potential solutions from the most general to the most specific, I think helps everybody stay on the same page and also make the appropriate or have the appropriate expectations. As Mr. Begacco was saying, there's a lot of wrinkles still to iron out. There's a lot of things that still need to be finalized. There's a lot of other participants involved. So this kind of detail, again, moving from the general to the specific really helps. I think today with our updates, we started with a lot of specifics and then had to build back up to framing it from a general perspective. Now, that brings me to the next point that I really want to discuss today, which is public hearing. You may remember at the beginning of this status hearing that I mentioned that this is being streamed on YouTube live and also recorded. I think there's some significant distress on the part of the commission with the lack of public hearings that apparently have not taken place. I'm not sure, Mr. Begacco or Mr. Domenici or Ms. Padilla, if you participated or watched the public hearing from this past Thursday or other public hearings, but many community members from Melody Ranch are taking a significant amount of time and effort to drive to Santa Fe and share their concerns, their fears, their worries, their frustration, mostly revolving around lack of public hearing. The first element and requirement that was articulated in the order establishing these status hearings was to create a public hearing or to have a public hearing. And we still haven't had one. And maybe I'm mistaken, or maybe I'm not aware of something that took place, but this is the foundation, as I've mentioned at previous status hearings, of the utility model, the regulatory compact, the relationship between a water provider and its community. There is nothing more important than communication and situational awareness. So I would ask Mr. Domenici and Ms. Padilla and Mr. Begacco to help me and the commission and the commissioners understand why there still hasn't been a public hearing yet. And I understand that maybe we'll have one on Wednesday and it'll be on Zoom, but I don't think that that is even sufficient. I think we need to have a public hearing as well as an online hearing. But as I also mentioned at the last status hearing, there's never in some ways too many types of hearings or public meetings. Maybe some people are out of town. Maybe some people are not able to attend publicly. So an online option is also advisable and worthwhile. But I'm just flummoxed, and I think the commission is too, as to why there hasn't been a public hearing. What we've been told from the commentators and the community members who have come to Santa Fe and who have written to us, as you have seen with respect to the email that Mr. Begacco shared or referred to just a few moments ago, is that there's the impression, the belief that there's been no information shared thoroughly or fully or comprehensively since the beginning of this crisis. And I think that this is the most important element of this entire process. The reason we're having status hearings even here at this moment is to provide information, awareness, understanding of what is possible, what may not be possible. So, Mr. Domenici, Mr. Begacco, could you please help the commission understand what the status of the public hearings are and why they have not taken place yet? Mr. Domenici?
I just think we've been trying to coordinate with the PRC to actually accomplish first a virtual one and then potentially a in-person one. I don't think we have a location for an in-person one or security. So I think the idea was to do virtual. And Melody Ranch, for good or bad, they've never had an email list of their customers. They don't have a text message list, and they don't actually have a Zoom account to conduct their own meetings. I know Tracy was going to set up an account last week so we could have follow-up meetings. But that's the best I can say. Melody Ranch is prepared. The information is changing quickly, but they're prepared to hold a meeting as soon as possible. We just couldn't do it today. It was too soon from the proposal that we got on Thursday.
Okay, and please correct me if I am misunderstanding or have a misconception, but has Melody Ranch ever had a public hearing or a public meeting with respect to the current conditions of the water supply?
We have not had a public meeting. People have asked us, would we be willing to? And I always responded, yes, we'll have a meeting. And then no one has ever followed up with that. Or I know meetings have happened, but we were not invited. We weren't told about it until after the fact. So even though I always responded, yes, we were not included. So, and again, there is, myself and one other person, behind the scenes working on this. That's why our best source of getting information was through the voicemail. So we update that voicemail every day, anything new happening, because that ended up being the most reliable source. And easy for us to get, and then people, started knowing. So even, once Pete was hired and we put on a new voicemail saying, we're working with the state trying to get this resolved. So that voicemail has been consistently all throughout updated with every, changing thing. But it is, since, we don't have email lists. We have some emails, but not a whole complete list. Even phone numbers, I can call people, and, first calling people will take 2 to 3 days to try to call everyone. And then just leaving a voicemail doesn't ensure that they even get those voicemails, those messages. So from the start of this process, I know it's been talked about, and I have followed through every meeting. We're willing to meet. And so then it's taken some time of, I guess, I'm not sure who, but they found a town hall, but they were trying to then look into the security side of it or something. But again, we've been stating we'll do it. And then again, this Zoom meeting, it was, I think, recommended by Bobby at EMWT to do it more Zoom. And we said, yes, we'll do it. It just, with so many people in play, I feel like, whoever, I don't know who's taking charge. I don't know who's, but we've agreed.
Right.
We've agreed every time that we will attend, do whatever. We just have very limited resources. So that's why we did get all of John's information about the PRC website, which I've already, as soon if we get anything decided and confirmed today, I would love to use that, and we'll call the IT person that John forwarded to us, the name of the IT person there, to get that immediately on the website. And then again, we can do a flyer, we can leave it on the voicemail, and then I've already given my office guy a heads up that he will have to then be calling phone numbers the rest of the day and tomorrow, if we are in fact going to try to do this by Wednesday morning. So we each time we try to stay on top of it, and again, we are willing to, but we just don't have a lot of avenues. We don't have a website, etc., to just put information out. So it's just been our voicemail.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I'll just remind everybody that a public hearing or a public meeting hasn't just been talked about, it's been ordered. The commission has ordered it. And I would say that this is, as I've said before, on behalf of the commission, a public meeting is of the highest priority. It is of the highest priority. Imagine, Ms. Padilla, I'm not sure if you are a member of the Melody Ranch community with respect to being a ratepayer there and getting your water from that utility. But imagine not having awareness or being confused and uncertain about where things are and what the status of things, and just having a voicemail to call into. I think that the utility Melody Ranch has the contact information of all of its ratepayers. Maybe not an email, maybe even not a phone number, but certainly the physical address or the mailing address. I mean, how else do the ratepayers receive their bills? So I wish to emphasize and highly encourage the parties and Melody Ranch in particular to organize a public meeting. And I'll say also that this doesn't depend on the PRC to have a public meeting. I think that, as you're aware of working for Melody Ranch Utility, of the high priority and importance that notice has with all kinds of ratepayers, whether it's a gas utility or a water utility or an electrical utility, et cetera. So this is something that doesn't just depend on waiting for the PRC or for Mr. Bagacco and his staff. This is, again, I'll repeat, of the absolute highest priority to schedule and hold a public meeting so that the community in Melody Ranch that is going through a very difficult time right now with a significant decrease in the availability of water, to understand where things are, understand what to expect with respect to amount of water, where it may come from, what potential solutions are involved. And then alongside of that, I would also say that it's a very valuable opportunity for the PRC and for Mr. Bagacco and his staff to explain what the role of the PRC is, so that the community also understands where our agency and our efforts are taking place. But again, there is absolutely no substitute for the utility organizing and holding a public meeting so that the vulnerable ratepayers here understand what's happening, good, bad, or indifferent, just so that they can make decisions that are deeply important to their lives.
I
Mr.
do,
Go ahead, Ms.
I'm sorry,
Ms. Padilla.
I
No,
do
no,
want
please,
to
go ahead.
add
Uh-huh.
that I say that we do a voicemail, but my the guy that works in the office, his name is Rich, he does answer the phone. It's just that he gets 200 plus calls in any and every given day.
Sure,
So he does physically talk to anyone who does get through and explains and any questions he he answers that they ask. So it's not that he's not answering and we only have a voicemail.
right,
He does answer as many as he can. It's just, again, he's one person, he's
sure,
overwhelmed and just trying to return the voicemails left in any given day with 200 plus calls that he didn't get to is a little overwhelming. So
sure,
each day is a catch up, and he does return calls if anyone leaves messages. So he is verbally speaking to anybody who's left a message or actually gets him on the
sure,
line.
sure,
And whether they're just yelling at him or they're actually being productive and asking questions, he spends his time listening to them or just letting them vent for a few minutes.
sure.
Either way, he has been trying to talk to as many people as he can. And that little part
Absolutely.
was left out. It's not just strictly voicemail.
Right. And I'll just repeat for everybody here that the commission also appreciates the constraints that Melody Ranch faces. So this is not any kind of thought or comment to the commission appreciates Ms. Padilla the constraints that Melody Ranch has had, but there's also the opportunity to think creatively. The Melody Ranch, even in the absence of a public hearing or a public meeting, could be sending out a weekly update to these addresses. And that, there's creative ways to think about notice and engaging the community of Melody Ranch in a cost-effective and efficient way. So maybe, as you're saying, Rich, I don't know his last name, Mr. Rich, let's say, might be receiving an overwhelming amount of phone calls, but maybe if Melody Ranch were, even in the meantime, to mail out a couple paragraphs or just a flyer or a notice on a weekly basis about what's happening, I think that would go a long way with respect to even diminishing a lot of pressure on Mr. Rich and maybe on yourself, and allowing for other kinds of outreach to take place, and then other efforts to proceed with respect to the technical and financial and regulatory aspect of restoring service that we've been discussing the last several weeks. So I just want to reemphasize in the most stark way that public notice is so important. In the absence of public notice, the commission is going to keep receiving phone calls and comments, and then that means the commission only has that kind of input to go on. So from our perspective, it seems like there's a lot of things that aren't happening, right, with some of the comments we've receiving. Now, we know that Mr. Begacco and his team and you and your team have also been working. So we know that there's progress and efforts taking place. But I'm just saying that in the absence of a public meeting, in the absence of routine communication, then it creates a sense maybe among the community and then also in the commission that certain things may not be happening. So I really want to see, and I think the commission would like to see, some thorough and comprehensive and periodic communication starting to take place. Mr. Begacco, would you like to share any thoughts on this topic?
The only thing I would think of to quickly facilitate a public meeting would be perhaps that we use the MNerd public hearing space and have an online option in conjunction with that. So it's in person, but I imagine there are a lot of people who will want to attend online. So I've already sent an email out about that. I know people would have to travel up here, but that's the most eminent solution that comes to mind right now because of the things that have to be negotiated to secure a public space in Moriarty are just, they're not as readily achievable. So I think in the interest of timeliness, that maybe that's the ticket. So I'm going to examine that here pretty closely after this status conference and see what we can do to loop that up.
Yeah, and again, just also the commission appreciates those kinds of constraints, the difficulty finding a public space, some of the difficulty maybe in finding the best way to contact, whether that's email, phone, or mail, etc. We're very much aware of those constraints. All I would say is that the enemy, sometimes the enemy of, let's not let perfect be the enemy of the good. So in the meantime, let's explore options with mail and flyers and posting things, and also at the same time work on securing a space that Mr. Begacco just mentioned. So I just mentioned that because, Ms. Padilla, we're hearing from a lot of very distressed families and individuals, and I think a lot of that distress in some ways is the result of just not knowing what's going on or what outlook there is, or if volumes have a potential to increase, there's going to be more availability in the fall, or there's going to be less, or if there's a potential to bring more water into the storage tank, things like that. So I just think that, again, this is of the highest absolute importance is public notice and public meeting. Are there any other thoughts, Mr. Begacco or Mr. Domenici, as we sort of wrap up our status hearing for today?
None other than to just, I'll keep following the progress of our counterparts and doing what I can to support them in that endeavor. And then we will have more to report on later.
Great. Mr. Domenici?
Just that we will be in touch with Jackie Ortiz to try to see if we're going to actually do that meeting Wednesday.
Okay.
And I could just to comment on your notice, we have not had good success with mail notice or mail billings to our
Right.
clients. So I think we're gonna look more at postings, flyers, word of mouth, something to get that first meeting done. And then if we can get enough people there and can perhaps get their emails and create an email list, then we might want to schedule regular online meetings and then go ahead when we get a meeting space with security, hold a in-person meeting.
I think that's great. Mr. Domenici, I think that's exactly the kind of thinking and constructive process that we need. I think, as you were saying, all communication creates more communication. And so little by little, whether it's with mailing or whether it's with posting flyers at public spaces, on telephone poles, wherever it is in the community that people can start getting awareness of where to find information and when to find it, I think that goes a long way. I think that we also just want to make sure that the community understands where things are, so that they can, as I said, manage their expectations and ultimately also contribute to the solution. This discussion and these status hearings the last couple of weeks really have been between staff and the experts from the commission side and Ms. Padilla and the employees and the efforts of Melody Ranch. But the more that we come together and communicate, I think the better we'll be able to manage our expectations and also contribute to long-term solutions. Ms. Padilla, I just have a couple questions before we conclude today. How many employees are there of Melody Ranch?
Myself and Rich,
Okay, just the two of you.
correct.
Okay.
And our licensed water operator is just a subcontractor.
Okay, excellent. And who is the owner of Melody Ranch?
It is an LLC and it's owned by other LLCs, Chaz LLC, Kath LLC.
Okay, so who are the personal individuals who own these LLCs? The ultimate owners?
They're family members. The Chaz LLC is Chuck Smith or Charles Smith.
Okay.
Is his first name. And Kath, the majority owner, is Kathleen Smith, who is my mother.
Okay, great.
Who I take care of.
Excellent. Okay, so so Kathy or Miss Smith, is that her name? Kathleen Smith?
Correct.
Okay, so Miss Smith is requires care. She's not physically operating or administratively involved in the management of the LLC.
That's correct. She is 90
Okay.
and she was
That's
diagnosed
fine.
with dementia.
That's fine. You don't have to go into any detail.
She was diagnosed with
just curious.
dementia and
Okay,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Smith, is he actively involved in the administration of Melody Ranch, or is it just you?
It is just me.
Okay,
He
great.
lives in California and
Okay.
yeah, not involved.
Again, no right answer, no wrong answer, no need to go
Yeah.
into any detail, just kind
I
of
get it.
curious, again, to understand where everything is. Okay, well, again, I will also say the commission is extremely grateful and appreciative of everyone's efforts here, both those who are on the call with us right now and those who are not on the call, with whom Mr. Domenici, Ms. Padilla, Mr. Begacco have spoken and have been working with. At the same time, this public notice is of the highest priority. So we look forward to having updates on that and to the community just maybe having a stronger and better footing with respect to what to expect, or as I said, even ideally, how to contribute to a solution in the short, medium, and long term. So again, thank you, much appreciated, and we look forward to the updates on Thursday, Mr. Begacco, and we'll see everybody again here on Monday next week. Thank you so much.